Hey everybody, and happy Sunday. Welcome back to another video. We do this every week. We talk about trade setups for the week ahead, and I wanted to start out this week a little differently, just showing you that losing streaks are a real thing. You can see that last week we did come out of a losing streak with a Cad Swiss win, and we are now back in the good zone. We're working our way back up. The thing is, no matter how long you've been trading, there are just periods of times where things don't go so well. And today I'm going to show you a little bit of that trade, what got me out of the losing streak, as well as what I plan to look at going into this week. So without further ado, let's jump into it. So first thing I want to start with is I'll show you a recap of my trade last week. Now, I'm not logged into my broker, unfortunately, right now. I do trade on Oanda, if you're familiar with my channel, but I traded Cad Swiss literally from like right here. Let me see if I can get an arrow. Like right here, I almost caught the bottom, like not even intentionally. I mean, I was looking for the bottom, but I didn't catch it as well as I thought. I trailed this thing all the way up to here and then closed out. And that right there, that move was all it took. Small stop loss on this move was all it took to get me out of that losing streak and back up on the track record there. So just something kind of cool to know that one good trade is all that it really takes when it comes to letting winners run to kind of bring back a losing streak back into profitability, which is kind of cool and just kind of where I'm at starting this week. So I am starting with a blank slate. So there is a few things I want to talk about. The dollar, man. What is going on with USD? And, you know, I've had a lot of people asking me, Nick, this thing cannot end well, right? Like it's got to come down hard. And I actually sort of think it will end poorly. I think that the dollar is probably headed down soon. Would I bet on that? No. That's the thing, right? Even if I have an opinion, like I do think that the dollar is overextended. I think we could probably all agree that the dollar looks pretty overextended here on the daily chart. Despite that, though, trying to bet against this thing has been a loser's game in the last several months. And for me, this has a lot of implications. We have a lot of fear around, you know, the Fed raising rates and how that could impact stock markets. And it seems like investors around the world are really going cash heavy right now. Will that end? Sure, it usually does. Another thing that we could look at is the VIX, for example. This is something we don't usually look on the channel, but the VIX is a measurement of volatility. And if the VIX is rising, that means, generally speaking, investors usually are fearful. They're usually selling stocks. They're, you know, it's a risk on, risk off gauge, basically. And so the VIX flying high today, or the last few weeks, is something to pay attention to. Now, when we go look at the dollar again, and you see that they're kind of moving up together, I think that if we see a little bit of weakening on the VIX, we're probably going to also see the dollar come down. And for me, I am a dollar bull. I think the Fed staying hawkish is still bullish for the US dollar in the meantime, but I think we need to pull back first. So if I start drawing up some levels here and start taking a look at where the dollar becomes attractive to me, really, it's not until you start getting back down here. And if you draw fibs from the previous swing low up till here, you can see that we don't even come close to those concepts until we start getting to the 61.8% retracement. And to me, that's how I know we are very likely, very overextended on this move and probably due for a retracement. Will that be this week? Sure, maybe it is. I don't know. I'm not going to try and call a top when something is trending like this. For me, it's just if it pulls back, look, I'll be potentially interested in buying on a discount. But if it doesn't, then, you know, maybe we'll redo this whole process next week. Okay, so let's take a look at some other markets. Another very popular topic that I want to talk about right now is the stock market. I mentioned that the S&P 500 is down really bad. Look at this. So actually, I want to try showing you guys something else. NASDAQ 100, right? Look at this. NASDAQ 100 from the peak here down almost 24%. That is an incredible sell-off here in markets. And the question is, where's the bottom for this thing? Where does the U.S. stock market, if you trade the U.S. indices, US30, SPX 500, NAS 100, where's the bottom on this thing? And for me, there is no, you know, if you're an investor, which I do invest in stocks, I'm looking at this stuff as potentially some good bargain areas. Like I'm picking up some stocks personally, just for transparency. But if you're a trader, if you're shorter term than that, if you're trading something like US30 and you're not looking at the daily chart, you're looking at the, you know, the 1 hour and the 15-minute chart, and that's kind of your game. For me, this thing is not bullish until we can see some sort of a breakout. If we see something like this, right? If we get a break this week, if we start seeing some relief on the stock market, then perhaps we can see indices bullish above, a breakout. I just need a higher high, really, is what I'm looking for before I try and jump into U.S. indices or indices for that matter. Okay, so there's a lot of different currencies. I'd like to actually look here at the A1 EdgeFinder to start out. So let's go here. I'm going to go to the home page and get some scans going. By the way, this tool is very much farther along in its development than its initial days. If you guys would like a copy of the A1 EdgeFinder, there's information down below in the description. And if you use the code there, for those of you guys who've been wanting a copy, we're going to bring back the 30% off because we are adding some more features and we need more people to join and let us know your feedback with the software. So again, link is down below in the description if you would like to check that out. We definitely want you to join us in this kind of collective group mission to making this tool better. We've been, like I said, it's been a group effort. Anyways, let's look at some of the picks or some of the ideas that are up on the top of the list here. So Cad Swiss, remember I said that was the trade that got me at a drawdown? Well, it was because I bought it and it went up. And a lot of that was due to the EdgeFinder helping me find that trade. Now, of course, the EdgeFinder is not a miracle worker. It just is a scanner. It's basically going to help scan for trading setups that look good. And a couple popped up on my radar here as I was looking shortly before I started filming today at some of these right here. We have some strong sell readings that look really interesting. And in fact, if we go to the full view here, score chart summary, and we scroll down, looks like there might be some sells coming in this week. EURCAD, PoundCAD, and Aussie Dollar are at the top of the list for strong sells. Let's go look at, you know what? I want to look at EUROCAD because EUROCAD is a really interesting one for me. Some of you guys know I took a short on this. If I go back to EUROCAD here for a second. So I took a short on EUROCAD. I can't remember. It was about a week or two ago. I caught a sell side action trade. And on the first, I took two trades. On the first trade, I made about $650. And on the second trade, I lost about $400, give or take. So this pair, I've put a pin in it. I paused on it, but now seems to be coming back in with some potential setups. And let's do some homework here. So again, if I go back to the EdgeFinder, we look at the EuroCAD specific individual sheet. By the way, with the EdgeFinder, you can scan any single pair that we have on our list. There are several things. And for those of you guys who are looking to get the newest version, look, we actually added a whole bunch of really cool stuff. You've got the US 10-year, which is the bond yield. You've got the Japanese index. You've got German 30, which is the DAX. You've got the FTSE, UK 100, US 30. You've got so many things added to the thing recently. So please, if you already have the EdgeFinder, please feel free to test it out and let us know your feedback on some of those new assets that we've added. So EuroCAD gets a really strong sell rating on the EdgeFinder. Strong sell, score of -9. And if we break this down, we can kind of see what's been going on. Now, COT data, again, we're having a little bit of an issue with this. It'll be back up and running in just a second. But I just happen to know that EuroCAD, the most recent data on COT is telling us that Euro is sort of neutral and CAD is bullish by institutional investors. We know that from the Commitment of Traders report. It's a futures reporting that has to go on each week here in the US, where big traders have to release their positions. We know that the CAD is favored by institutional traders, so EuroCAD looks like a potential short. That's just one factor. That's why we have the EdgeFinder. We add many factors in one. Retail sentiment, the crowd is very long on this one, so we are looking more for short trades. Seasonality, we have the month of May, which is what we're coming into. Seems to be about neutral, but somewhere in there, I guess it's -1 by a slight bit. Trend reading, we have a strong downward trend overall. GDP growth, we added, this is another feature of the new updates that we've made to the EdgeFinder. We have economic data comparisons in the EdgeFinder now. It is so exciting. I love having this in here because I don't have to go dig through the internet to find this information. It's pulled in by the software. Okay, so let's go through this. EuroCAD, GDP growth, slower for Euro, faster for CAD. So that's a positive for Canadian dollar. Inflation, higher in Europe than it is in Canada. Better for Canada, right? Lower inflation is, generally speaking, better when you start getting up into these really high, almost double figure or two-figure inflation numbers. Those are scary. Unemployment. Unemployment is higher in Europe than it is in Canada. That's positive for Canada. Interest rate. Canada has a higher interest rate. So all of those factors point towards a sell of the euro and a buy of the Canadian dollar, at least according to the software. So when I look at this and I see that the Eurocad is pulling back here on the 1 hour chart, we could take a quick look at the 4 hour chart, get a higher time frame perspective. And I like this a lot for a possible sell setup going into this week. This is a trade setup that I personally am looking at. We also notably rejected off of the 50% level. If we do tap back up into that area, that might just be the trade setup that starts out my week. We'll see if that happens. But Eurocad, again, strong sell by the EdgeFinder. That tool is amazing for finding this, because otherwise I might not have seen this trade setup. That's the whole point behind the EdgeFinder, is to help find you setups, help find you ideas to look at, and then you can make the final decision on whether or not you want to take trades. So Eurocad, where could we go from here? Well, I like the idea of potentially a move back down to the previous low. So if you're more of a swing trader, perhaps we're looking at something with a good risk reward. Let's say we got the 50% level, put stops there, targets there. You know, just roughly speaking, that's a 3-to-1. So if you were to get something like that, that could be a really nice trade going into this week, especially given the factors that the EdgeFinder pointed out to us. It's not a guarantee that this market is going lower, as things do change in markets, and sometimes trade setups and plans do not go to plan. But that's one pair that I do like quite a bit for this week. So I'll keep tabs on that one as one of the options. So let's go back to Aussie Dollar. This is another one. I wanted to see, did this one get any pullback here this week? Let's see. It did, but it already faded. This thing is so weak that it cannot get off of the lows. So we ended out the week last week on Aussie Dollar back down at the lows. This thing is super bearish, really, really struggling here to hold any sort of gains. For me, this would be a sell, but not until we start seeing a deeper retracement, and we're pretty far away from that. So we won't spend too much time looking at that. Pound yen, another very popular currency pair for day traders and for swing traders. We're going to take a look at this one and see what's been going on. So pound yen holding the lows really nicely. Demand came in, and I would like to see what the EdgeFinder has on pound yen just to get an idea of a top-down view. So this one's neutral. This is interesting. So we have a neutral reading on pound yen and several factors here. So let's go through them. Pound yen has switched to a neutral. It was a strong buy, so this thing has changed over time here. COT data might be something that is missing here, but actually no, it's not, because I know that the pound is very short and the yen is very short as well. So there's just kind of a neutral thing, I think, there. So that kind of crosses out. Retail sentiment. The crowd is very short on this pair. Season out, so we're looking more to be on the long side. I'm sorry if you're a newer trader, I'm trying to explain this each time. Trend reading, we have a strong downward pressure now on the pound yen. And honestly, I tend to agree with that in the sense that I would like to see this thing switch back into sort of a breakout mode. If we could get, for example, a breakout above resistance here, then that would be a real nice sign for the bulls. But again, we have kind of seen a failure here. So if we take a look here, right? Sort of a failure at this supportive level. We kind of came down into this zone and then broke right there, fell through the floor. And, you know, the question is, can we kind of break back into a bullish structure? If so, we'd probably need to see this thing clear, and then we could probably start seeing some stronger trend readings. But for now, I tend to agree this one is not quite as interesting as it once was during this strong upward trend. A lot of factors here. You can pause the video if you'd like to go through them, but I'm just going to move on from this one and go back to some more interesting pairs. I, generally speaking, try to stick to the ones that are, you know, stronger buys, stronger sells, because there's less interest here for me, right? If something is just neutral, I'm not really going to be super attracted in buying or selling this, because I just don't feel like I have enough factors that are weighing in my favor. Some of you guys know that as confluence. That is pretty much the ultimate purpose of this tool, is to find confluence. Remember, like I said, if you are not already using the EdgeFinder and you would like to use it, get 30% off using the code down below in the description. We'd love to have more people using it. Again, it helps us to have more traders using it, because more traders using it means more good feedback to help us continuously improve it. All right, so a couple more things to look at. Cad Yen. I talked about Cad Swiss. Cad Yen did me dirty last time I got into it, but it seems to still have a strong buy, so maybe we should take a look at Cad Yen for this week. Cad Yen is, let's see if we can find Cad Yen. I think it's at the end of the list. There it is, Cad Yen. All right, let's see what Cad Yen has for us today. So Cad Yen, strong reading overall to the upside. And let's get this straight. So the month of May is actually a positive month, historically speaking, for the Cad Yen. And look at this, you guys. 93% of retail traders are short on Cad Yen. That is a huge red flag to be shorting it, in my opinion. So if I know that the crowd is super short like that, I am generally speaking going to be avoiding that one. Yeah, so very cool. We have a strong sell reading here. I'm sorry, not a strong sell reading, a strong potential buy reading here. Now, if we look at seasonality, retail sentiment, COT data, I happen to know that the yen is weak. The CAD is strong from institutional positioning. I just know that this is, you can actually see the changes in long, changes in short here at the bottom of the screen. This little portion is just bugged right now, so ignore that. But anyways, this one has a strong buy, the trend here is only a 1, so it's not like super strongly trending. It's kind of had a bit of confusion recently, but yeah, so we'll continue on with that. GDP, inflation, unemployment, interest rate, sort of mixed. You have inflation much lower in Japan, which is generally a positive thing for the Japanese yen. They are usually going to have lower inflation than other places. Same with Switzerland. They generally have low inflation as their economies are very, very stable, but also very sort of low growth kind of economies. Interest rate divergence. We have a strong bias towards CAD. So this one might be a buy in my opinion, but I would like to see it come down to some good levels. And it seems like, you know, here's the thing, right? The red flag is that we did put in a lower high. So take that with a grain of salt. Be cautious with that when you look at this, because sure, it has you know, a nice pullback setup, but knowing that we did put in a lower high is a little bit of a fear factor. Now, the thing is, just because we put in a lower high does not mean that it's guaranteed, oh, that's the top, it's coming down, it couldn't break highs. That's just one clue, right? As we come back to a support level like this, the 50%, I would say that there still could potentially be a good risk to reward, considering we may continue on and maybe just break right through that level. It's all about, the thing is, sometimes people will say, well, oh, the market is too high. You know, you're risking too much being up here. Well, remember, you have the placement of a stop loss that you can look at. You can make your decision where you want to put that stop. And that stop, you know, who cares if it's high already? If the market is trending higher and there's momentum in this market, that is generally what I'm going to pay attention to more. Okay, so let's continue on. We'll look at some more pairs here. I'd like to go back to the score sheet just to get an idea of what we're going to be looking at today. Dollar yen. Dollar yen, I feel like, is not pulled back yet. Has it? Well, it's trying. Let's look at this. Okay, zooming in on the 4-hour chart. We just barely missed this zone. I guess if you include the wicks there, we kind of touched that zone. If this market comes down a bit deeper, maybe a 50% retracement. If we get a 50% retracement, I think that could potentially be a nice buy on dollar yen. The US 10-year is flying high right now, which is a positive correlation to the dollar yen, as when yields rise, generally we are seeing the yen weaken there compared to the strengthening dollar. So if this thing pulls back down to the 50%, I think that's a reasonable trade idea. And I like to, when I use the 50%, I personally like to try and clear the 61.8 with a stop, right? Just in case price does want to come a little deeper. I can hopefully try and stay in a trade in that perspective, right? Give it a little bit of room in case there's a little bit of a dip past support, right? Sometimes you get the Wyckoff and the SMC traders, they focus on that stuff. For me, my approach is, just saying, okay, if price comes down to this level, and maybe, very often it will just go without testing underneath. If it does test underneath, I just try and give it enough room so that I can survive a bit of drawdown on the trade. That's just my personal approach. So yeah, I like this. I think that there's some good risk reward on dollar yen. If we dip just a bit lower on dollar yen, that could potentially be a good entry in my personal opinion going into this week. So I like that trade. I think there's some good risk reward there for continuation, and we'll keep tabs on that. Again, I found that through the EdgeFinder. So if you're not already using it, get access to it while it's cheap. The link is down below in the description. And remember, if you'd like to see all the trades that I'm taking, you can see them all full transparency, whether I win or lose, inside of the Discord channel. If you're not already in the Discord channel, there's also a link in the description for that. So yeah, we've got a whole bunch of new stuff coming out. We got the EdgeFinder updates, and we're software developing like crazy on the back end for that. But we'd love to hear some feedback from you. So again, check out the stuff down below in the description. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to hit the thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and see you next time.